Welcome back to another Sister Scoop where we are giving you all the Marvel news for the week, or at least the top three for the week. And we're going to get right into it with continuing something we've already been talking about. And that is that Giancarlo Esposito's character, as we already said that he has been casted in the MCU, is going to be in a TV show post their initial appearance.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It was interesting. The article that I was reading when I was prepping for this episode was talking about how he's kind of the king of TV. Like, the man just slays on television. So it's exciting to know that he's going to be in that, type of show, at least to start, or type of content to start. I also thought that it was interesting, kind of in a second part to what he was saying at one of the conventions he was at this past weekend or recently, was that he's going to be appearing soon. So a lot of people are starting to speculate that he's going to make a cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine, which is a little over or a little under 2 months away. Crazy to think about. So I'm excited. I mean, he is a fantastic actor. Moff Gideon is a terrifying character and he brings him to life perfectly. So whether he's playing a villain or a hero, I just know that whatever he's going to do, he's going to crush. And I am so excited for it to be revealed what he's going to be. And then for him to be in a TV show and absolutely just make my jaw drop for however many weeks they decide to run it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think it's so funny when you don't know his role, but like you know that they have so many plans built around it. And I think you were saying whether it's a villain or a hero, and way back when I think we mentioned he's done a lot of villain work. Maybe we could see him doing the other side of the coin, which would be pretty cool. I'd be intrigued now that there might be a show coming on the horizon to see them do a show about a villain. I actually feel that if we think logically, we've never had a show truly about a villain, if we think about it. Loki was not a villain by the time he hits the Loki show. Scarlet Witch sort of becomes a villain post her show. It was never in the show. So we really have never followed a villain through their own storyline. Agatha is going to be probably our first one, and we'll see how that rolls out. If we go off of that, theoretically, he plays a hero. That at least kind of lets us like check the box of he probably plays a hero since we don't really do a lot of shows off of villains. But who's to say? We don't know. We know very little about what role this guy is actually going to be playing.
Literally grasping at straws. That's
Yes,
exactly
that
what
is
we're
me.
doing.
Like what are those games where you're like, oh, Maya does not like a hamburger, but she could eat a like I don't know, like a hot dog or a whatever, and you like do the X's and you have to figure out what everybody orders or whatever.
Oh, kind of like Clue. Where like
Is it?
it's like, yeah, you like guess it's like it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Mustard in the entryway with the knife. And like from there,
Yeah.
it's not Mr. Mustard with the entryway with the knife.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what this is. You're just kind of like, well, so maybe we really don't do shows about villains, so maybe he's not a villain then, and then we can, yeah. I mean, there's like a 9 million heroes that he could be, though.
Yeah. I was like, that doesn't narrow it down at all.
No.
Cool.
No. Yeah. But on to our next, another show that we've kind of been waiting for almost, no, for 3 years now. And that's, if it's still being called this, Vision Quest is a go. They still plan to do that show, which is exciting, at least personally. I think White Vision has been a huge, just leftover piece from WandaVision. We are getting the answer with Agatha coming very quickly for us. So that's very exciting. And I think that's awesome. But we've all been saying, what's White Vision been up to all this time? I mean, especially with Wanda out here having her whole villain arc. He's just been MIA. So I'm excited to see that they still plan to do something here.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so interesting, especially knowing that we're basically gonna be moving into Agatha in a few months. How many projects came out of WandaVision and how many storylines? Obviously, you have MOM, you have Agatha, you have now this one. And there's, I'm sure, others that I'm blanking on. The Marvels, even, introducing Monica. There are so many tendrils that come out of that show. And it's so awesome to know that this one is not going to be another Mordo situation where we're going to have a character who's going to be out here just living life and we have no idea what they're actually doing. I love that we're going to close the loop. I love Paul Bettany. I love him in this role. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think the show is going to be great. I know we've had our thoughts about, Disney's pivots on how they're going to be doing the shows and the cadence and all of that. But a lot of people seem to be turning the corner and saying, we think this is going to make them higher quality because they're putting out less. And, they did align with a Star Trek Picard showrunner to work on the show. So somebody who's got a great pedigree. And in terms of timing, we're looking at 2026. So it's a little far off, but it's something down the pike, and I'm excited to add it to the slate. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm excited to see, if Agatha helps set it up, if we're looking at those types of connections, because we know at least one of the boys is in that show. So there's a lot of interconnectivity in the whole WandaVision spinoff universe that has basically come out of that show. I'm excited. I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited to see all of the different storylines that it wraps up or furthers and all the characters he gets to interact with. I think it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'll be really intrigued to see the premise of the show as a whole and what they do with it. He's a very interesting character, but now he's not him anymore. He's a very different version of himself. And so I will be excited to see where they go if we eventually get a villain. Sorry, if we eventually get a Vision, he's not a villain by any means, or he actually kind of is, I guess, in WandaVision.
Yeah.
If we get a version of Vision that, comes back, or if he always kind of remains the version of him that he is going to be now, I'll be really intrigued to see where we go with it. So it is a very exciting one. I'm sad we're waiting so long because that will be 5 years since WandaVision. That is very sad to me. I was really excited to hear him have a spinoff because, again, a huge loose end that really bothered me and still bothers me to this day. But on to our very last one. This is a different direction, and it's that Mike Colter could be down to return as his role as Luke Cage.
Yeah, this is one that I am super excited about. Luke Cage, out of all the Defenders, I think for me, it's like Matt Murdock and then Luke Cage. I thought that Mike Colter nailed the role. He was so good. And I forgot about this until I was reading some articles about, what he said and where the show left off and where it could pick back up. But he kind of might be entering his little villain era based on the end of season 2. Sorry, Kate, spoilers. Based on the end of season 2 of Luke Cage, which is super interesting. But then you think also about, we've talked about this when we talked about, Mayor Kingpin and all of that. He actually succeeds Kingpin as mayor of New York. So that's another really interesting storyline that could be played out and really should be played out. So I hope that he does get the opportunity to come back. He basically gave 2 conditions, and that he wants to be able to work on another season of Evil, which is the show that he's been in most recently, and he just really wants it to be a good story. And knowing, again, some of the storylines that the MCU is setting up, I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to come back and take their character and go become mayor? I don't know how they're going to reconcile that with his little bit of crime lording that he was doing a little bit at the end of season 2, but weirder things have happened. New York elected Kingpin mayor. I mean, there are stranger things in this world. So right. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of opportunities for the character. I think Mike Colter, to me, he is Luke Cage. Don't recast, please. You have your Luke Cage. Bring him back. Give him whatever he wants, and let's make it happen.
Yeah, I think if they've already done, the confirmation with Daredevil, why not do it with the rest of them? I think we've said this almost every time these conversations have gotten brought up. And I appreciate a man who's going to sit there and say, it needs to be good. I'm not just going to come back to do it. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a worthwhile person right there. So I'm hoping that means he will return with a great story, and that will just move that part of the universe further along. It's very exciting, I think, for people who've been fans of the Netflix shows and everything. I think this is probably a very exciting time for everybody. But yeah,
yes,
I would love to see. Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen them still. I know. I'm getting there. They're on the list. But yeah, I think this could be a really awesome thing if they bring him back as well. Let's just bring them all back. Do what we got to do. You've already casted them once, even though it wasn't fully, MCU. They've been cast once in this role for a reason. And so why bother recasting unless they just want nothing to do with it? So, that being said, this has been this week's Sisters Scoop. We are so excited to have brought this forward and to you guys, and we cannot wait to keep giving you guys more news because this is so much fun. But that means you guys need to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sisters Assembled, so you guys can continue watching our news segments. And of course, go listen to our podcast as well, because that's the big one. And we will talk to you guys next week.